Hey doing guys, welcome back to the channel. I just thought in this video it would be nice to get in the trenches a little bit with a team like our people squad here that's struggling a little bit at the moment. We obviously had 4 guys that didn't play last week. I know a lot of you guys are probably in a similar situation. You also might have a few guys on your emergency list like a Simonson, Freddie Lussick, these types of guys that you've brought in that are super cheap. Maybe it's a Benjamin Marsh. It's these types of guys that aren't going to be making a lot of money. Like we could go with someone like Jason Saab and these types of guys that are down the bottom of our list there. Here we got here Fusatua, Brad Dietz, Seyfarth. I've seen a few people have. Those types of guys in there that you've got a few that are currently injured or suspended in a Momorowski or a Pat. You then are also sitting with one or two of these guys as well. And I just wanted to jump in and sort of have a chat about what we might want to do with these types of teams. And if you're someone that's looking to be an overall player, especially, but we can talk about the head-to-head as well. And we may as well start with the head-to-head side of things. And with that one, guys, obviously trading through the buy period is not going to be a big thing for you guys. So what's really important at this stage is bringing in the really good cash cows for those guys. If you've got those guys stinking it up a little bit on the emergencies, then bringing in the cash cow that's going to make 150, 200K is going to be really ideal at this point to really enhance your side. You're looking to build up that entire team value and not too dissimilar to what you're doing in the overall side. The issue with the overall side is you're looking to be scoring really well through all of the buy rounds, and if you've got 2 to 3 guys that are either not playing on the emergencies or they're going to score you a 10 to 15, they're kind of obviously wasting a spot, but it's the amount of points that you're missing out on during that origin period and across those weeks that's going to hurt you. So if we play that in this squad at the moment, what are we looking to do? So Turpin, for example, is someone that is a chance of losing some cash over the next bunch of weeks. If he's going to continue to get 40 to 55 minutes, for example, then you can expect him to have scores in the 30s to 40s and probably loses a little bit of money. The other side of that is he will be playing in round 13, so the Broncos actually play that round. And he would obviously be pretty handy to have. But the question is going to be, is Levo going to be there, right? If we look to our bench, for example, you've got O'Sullivan this week. And if he's someone that's not going to be playing, if he doesn't get picked again, then the issue for him is, okay, he's probably like they don't play round 13. So it's like, okay, is he going to get another week or two for his money to continue improving? But he did just come off a 19. So you'd imagine his price rises are going to start to slow down a fair bit. So he's someone you can probably look to move on. And at 477K, the smartest option would be looking towards some form of cash cow. Whether this week it is a Reece Walsh, for example, but then you also have to think of the fact that they don't play round 13, and you're trading a Warriors player for another one. And coming into round 8, you have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you'll get 5 rounds out of him at 250 odd K, wherever he is, Walshy, 256 or something like that. I'll find it in a second, 254. So yeah, obviously coming off a decent game. It'll just depend where he gets named. It'll depend where he gets named, obviously, but he's someone that you'd expect to score pretty well. He's a good young player. A few other guys like Verrills, who is coming in at 245K, can also be a solid option for your side. And it might be smarter to get in a player like that. For Walsh, for example, he might they don't play round 13, but he might, if he's going well, he'll play across those other weeks and actually score well and make you some money. Verrills is also someone that they don't play round 13 either, but for him, he's going to get that starting spot. He'll be back in that when he gets a few more games under his belt, for example. And he is someone that has produced a 40 to 45 average in the past when he gets good minutes, right? So for him, it's his spot to lose. It will be his spot, basically. There's no way that he'd get dropped, for example. Good young player. And he's really cheap. And you can use his scores across that buy period. So that's something to think about there. And, what that does then, if you have O'Sullivan, it obviously we're waiting on the fact if he's named or not. If he's named to start again and they're like, oh, that was a terrible experiment, then you will keep him because it's not worth wasting the trade if you don't have to. But that would allow you 230K. We're sitting with 114 already. That's 350K that we could use to go Turpin straight to a Reed Mane. And yes, we might be trading someone that's playing in round 13, but we get a top line gun who's only going to miss one game over that origin period. and he is someone that we don't have to worry about trading going forward. And your trades from here on in should reflect that completely. You either are trading someone in who is a cash cow, is going to make you some good coin to be able to upgrade later on, or you can downgrade through the buy period to some of these cheaper guys that might actually score okay. So that's another thing that we can talk about. But then upgrading that mid-range type of player like a Turpin, a 600k, 550k, up to a top line gun. You're talking your Tohu Harrises, your Reed Manes, your Mitch Moses, these types of guys that we're talking about there, that you know that have done it in the past and they're going to continue to do really well going forward. That's the most important part there. Yeah, and what I was going to say about some of the cheaper guys that might be of some interest over that Origin period is there's a few guys that we've spoken about that are kind of losing cash over the last bunch of weeks, and they could end up if they've got a few Origin players in their side. We should actually have a little bit of a look at that as to the types of teams that we got there going forward, and who's going to be playing round 13, for example. So you have the Dragons and the Broncos, and you think about these types of teams and who have they got on the sidelines that may come in if someone's playing Origin, and there's this chance that someone like Ben Hunt could play Origin, and you look at guys like Sullivan that is playing in the halves there. Obviously, a bunch of the Broncos forwards are going to be in Origin, like Payne Haas, and who comes in and gets that role. You look at guys like Spencer Leniu, and are they going to be really important over that first buy round? Is he going to play bigger minutes with a chance of guys like Isaiah Yeo making Origin? You're not sure about the rest of their forwards. Capewell might be in there as well, so they're going to have to cover those positions. Eisenhuth might be playing through the middle in 13 role, and Capewell moves out, which means Martin plays some bigger minutes, and there's some more minutes for someone like Spencer, for example, and that could be important. Someone like Stefano Tuikamanu, he might get a bigger role if they happen to have anyone fantasy relevant in the Origin there. Storm, you've obviously got Christian Welch and these types of guys they're going to be playing Origin, and there's going to be a young forward or a young back that's going to come in for a week or two there, and these are the types of guys that you can look to cash down to come round 13, and that's kind of that's just some examples of the types of players or teams you want to be thinking about, and that's the big importance about saving trades. For example, if you are able to save a bunch of trades in this first few weeks, then well done. And in this next bunch here, if you can, like I'm thinking averaging one a week, for example, you can bring in that cash cow that's going to do well. You might be able to hold him for 4 to 5 weeks and then trading him down to a guy that's going to play in round 13, for example. And you're not too stressed about, if you're trading one or two of these guys in, you're not too stressed if they don't play in round 17 because they're not taking up much of your cap, if that makes sense. So you bring in someone at 240, 250, 260, something like that, even 228 if you're lucky. They play that round 13 bye, and that's the only one you need them for. Yes, it'd be nice if they played 17 as well, but you can't. There's obviously, either way, you either play round 13 or 17, one or the other. And those cheaper guys, you're not worried about them playing in 17 because in that case, you've saved some cash, and then you're able to bring in some guns for round 17, and you want the guns to be doing the bulk of your scoring. You don't want a bunch of mid-range guys that are doing that for you, and that's why I feel like someone like Spencer might be worth holding on to because he's not expensive, he's not taking up a lot of your cap, and he could play a really big role in that first buy round. He then could be moved on from there, for example. By then he's hopefully around 400k, and you get a good score out of him, and then you can move on from there. So that's something really interesting to think about. And if you're holding someone like Momorowski, we know that he plays in round 13, and it's like, okay, it's hard to do over the next 2 weeks, but with trades at such a premium, then he's really important to hold on to. Someone like Pap, yes, he could be out for the next few weeks for sure. We don't know. There should be at least one. Will probably be 2 more. The question is, how many games is he going to play over that period? And that's where guys like Momorowski are much more important, right? Because he could possibly be a keeper, but he only misses 1 game over that period. Pat will miss the next couple, the same as Mom, for example, but then he might miss 2 or 3 over that period. So what's keeping him in the majority of teams is the fact that he's one of the top few players in the game at 857k, averaging close to 80 or something. So they're the kind of things you got to think about. Is do I really need him over the next bunch of weeks to score well? And from round 10 to round 12, that's 3 rounds there. If you're missing out on him, getting a 70 or 80 average across those few weeks, then you're going to fall behind. And it's like, okay, it's another trade I've made, which I won't be able to use across round 13 and trading sort of heavy through that period to build up to a gun side in 17, 18, 19. So they're the kind of things I just wanted to speak about in this video. So nothing too over the top, nothing too crazy. And it's just around that trade management, I think, is going to be really important going forward into that buy period. And we'll get into a bunch of the different trade options for a Turpin, for example, around that middle price. But we can do a quick one on it now. For example, he's someone that I'm looking to trade out in my squad. And if you're looking at around that 600 to 650 price range, we'll get down there. It depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for a half, then you have guys like Moses, for example, at 680, which you'd obviously need 50k extra to get to. And then you got a bunch of guys that are going to be playing Origin. Gutho seems to be half an option for sure. If you need a wing fullback, you've got Twal in there, but he's a bit up and down. Corey Thompson's decent, but again, do you want to go for him when you've got Ponga, Ted, Trebojevic, Pap, all these guys that are killing it, for example? Elliott, we're not exactly sure about how he's going to go over the course of the season. Nathan Brown too. There's not a lot of guys here. Thompson's doing okay, but Dylan Edwards could be a decent option who shouldn't play Origin and is a good scorer in the wing fullback. You got Adam Dewey, these types of guys we're looking at here. But how many of those guys in that range exactly are going to be out and out guns? And it's like, well, who do I get? And I think the better decision is probably to go right to the top. With those Papali'is, the Payne Haas, the Reid Mane, these types of guys I think are probably a little bit better to do. And that's probably going to take two trades to get there. And is that worth it at this time? Like for us in the people squad, is it worth burning a couple just to grab an extra few points over the next few weeks? But that kills us come Origin time or come the back end of the year, because that's really all that matters. Is do you have enough trades for the buy period and afterwards? Because as I said in the past, like, if you're burning too many of them, then you might be going well the first the majority of the season, and then you run out of trades, and there's obviously injuries, suspensions, restings, all the fun stuff that comes at the back end of the year, and then teams that are actually looking after the trades and trading smartly and not chasing the points from the week before are going to run along past you and absolutely smash you. So completely up to you how you want to do it, but I think that's the smartest thing to do. If you have a couple of guys like Lanu and Stefano that are going to be playing in that first buy period, they're not really going to be losing you much cash over the next few weeks. They could have a really big game, which they haven't really done yet. There's so many things to think about. The injuries, it could all happen and we say, I'm not going to trade next week, but then more injuries and suspensions happen, and we just keep trading. So if you have the opportunity not to, and it's those types of guys there, and it's not a clear cut cash cow like a Walker or Simkin, hopefully is a clear cut, but those types of guys that are really cheap and are going to do well, then I think it's worth holding trades. But there you go, guys. That's the thoughts on that video there. I hope that really helps you guys. If you're liking these types of videos, please hit like, subscribe. I really appreciate all the love and support, and we'll see you in the next one when we analyze those teams. See you guys.